Victoria Cross grabbed the mop from Marcus Williams's hands and smashed it across her knee. "You think you can fix my $3 million engine?" She threw the broken pieces at his feet. "You can't even hold a mop without my permission." Marcus didn't move. His phone buzzed in his pocket. A text from his daughter, "Dad, did you pay the electric bill? They're saying they'll cut it off tomorrow." He had $19 in his account. Rent was due in 6 days. And the woman in front of him was about to destroy the only job keeping his family alive. But Marcus Williams looked Victoria Cross dead in the eyes and said 2 words that changed everything. What happened next made 300 people forget how to breathe. Comment your city below so I can see how far this story travels. The mop handle exploded into splinters. Victoria Cross held the broken pieces for exactly 2 seconds before throwing them at Marcus Williams' feet. Her heels ground one splinter into the polished granite as she stepped closer. "I asked you a question, Janitor." Marcus said nothing. Behind the glass walls, 300 Crosstech employees had their phones raised. Recording. Waiting. "Security tells me you've been lurking outside my workshop, every night, for 2 weeks. Victoria circled him slowly. Standing there like some kind of creep, listening. His phone buzzed again. "Dad. You there, Keisha? 17 years old, senior year at Lincoln High. The only reason Marcus Williams got out of bed every morning." "So, I did some research." Victoria stopped directly in front of him. "Marcus Williams, 51 years old, night shift custodian. 3 years on my staff, no complaints, no commendations, no anything." She tilted her head. "Just a ghost pushing a mop through my building. But ghosts don't stop at workshop doors at 2 in the morning. Ghosts don't study blueprints through glass walls." Victoria leaned close enough that Marcus could smell her perfume. Something expensive. Something that cost more than his monthly grocery budget. "What exactly do you think you're doing?" The smart play was to apologize. Explain it was nothing. Promise to stay away and disappear back into invisibility. That was the safe play. The play that had kept him employed for 3 years while he scraped together enough to keep Keisha in school, keep the lights on, keep food in the refrigerator. But something shifted inside him. Something that had been sleeping since Denise died. Since he sold the shop. Since he traded everything he'd built for a mop and a paycheck and the privilege of being ignored. "The engine," Marcus said. "I can hear what's wrong with it." Victoria blinked. "Excuse me." "The marine engine, the one your team's been working on for 8 weeks. I can hear the problem." Victoria's laugh cut through the hallway. "You can hear it." She wiped her eyes. "Oh, this is precious." She pulled out her phone. "Eric, wake everyone up. Board members, engineers, the Japanese investors. Everyone. 1 hour." Eric Chen's voice came through thick with sleep. "Victoria, it's 11 at night. I don't care if it's 3 in the goddamn morning. Our janitor thinks he's an engineer. I want the whole world to watch what happens next." She ended the call. "Here's what's going to happen, Mop Man. You're going to walk into that workshop. In front of every employee in this company. In front of my investors. In front of 100,000 people watching online." Victoria's smile sharpened. 2 hours. Fix what MIT couldn't fix in 8 weeks. She stepped closer. "When you fail, and you will fail, I won't just fire you. I'll destroy you. Your name will be poison in every engine shop from here to Detroit. You'll never work with machines again. Not here, not anywhere." Her fingers snapped inches from his eyes. "So, what do you say? Ready to humiliate yourself in front of the whole world?" Marcus looked at the broken mop at his feet. His phone buzzed a 3rd time. "Dad, I'm scared. Please answer." Keisha, his baby girl, the one who'd held his hand at Denise's funeral and whispered, "It's okay, Daddy. We'll be okay." 3 years ago, Marcus Williams owned a shop, had a reputation, was somebody. Now he was $19 away from his daughter sitting in the dark. "Start the clock." The words came out quiet, certain. Victoria's confidence flickered. She'd expected begging, tears, a man crumbling under pressure he couldn't handle. Not this. Fine. She recovered quickly. Eric, start the timer the moment he touches that engine. Make sure every camera captures everything. She turned and walked toward the conference hall. Marcus pulled out his phone, typed fast. I'm here, baby. Don't worry. Everything changes tonight. I promise. He hit send. Then, he followed Victoria Cross into the room where his life would either end or begin again. The conference hall filled in 40 minutes. 300 employees stumbled through doors in pajamas and winter coats, confused, curious, hungry for blood. Marcus stood at the front of the room feeling the weight of 300 stares. The hashtag #CrossTech Challenge was already trending. 80,000 people watching live. His phone buzzed. Dad, what's happening? Someone from your work posted something online. It's everywhere. He didn't answer. The Japanese delegation arrived at 12:15 a.m. Hiroshi Tanaka stepped out first. 71 years old. $4 billion. The patience of a man who'd been lied to for 8 weeks. Behind him walked Dr. Susan Park. 60 years old. Former Boeing engineer. 53 patents. She took her seat in the front row. Her eyes found Marcus immediately, and stayed there. Something flickered across her face. Recognition. Curiosity. Marcus couldn't tell. Victoria took the stage. Ladies and gentlemen, I apologize for the hour, but tonight we're going to witness something special. She gestured toward Marcus. This is Marcus Williams. For 3 years he's cleaned our toilets and emptied our trash cans. Tonight he informed me that he, a janitor with no degree, no credentials, no qualifications, can repair the engine that our MIT engineers couldn't fix in 8 weeks. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. So I'm giving him a chance. 2 hours. In front of all of you. In front of Mr. Tanaka. In front of the entire world. Victoria walked toward Marcus slowly. Fix the engine, janitor. Fix it, and I'll make you workshop manager. 6 figures. Benefits. Everything you've never earned. Her voice dropped. But when you fail, and we both know you'll fail, I'll make sure you never work again. Not here, not anywhere. Not even changing oil at a Jiffy Lube. She snapped her fingers. What do you say, mop man? Marcus thought about Keisha. 17 years old. Straight A's. Scholarship applications spread across their kitchen table. Dreams of college that cost more than he'd make in 10 years of mopping floors. He thought about Denise. Her hand in his at the end. Thin as paper. Cold as winter. Promise me you won't give up. He'd promised. Promise me you'll remember who you are. He'd promised that too. Promise me you'll take care of our baby. That promise had kept him alive for 3 years. Start the clock. The workshop smelled like oil and failure. The marine engine sat on a test platform. $3.5 million of German precision. 8 weeks of broken promises. Marcus approached slowly. 300 people pressed against glass walls watching. Recording. He placed both hands flat against the engine block. Closed his eyes. His father's voice echoed in memory. James Williams. 34 years at Ford. Never promoted. Never recognized. Just a black man with genius hands and a gift no one bothered to see. Every engine has a heartbeat, son. Most people hear noise. But if you listen, really listen, the engine will tell you exactly what's wrong. Marcus listened. Felt the vibration through his palms. The subtle wrongness that 8 weeks of MIT engineers had missed. There. The stutter at 2400 RPM. The hesitation every 3 seconds. There, Marcus said suddenly. The crowd fell silent. There what? Eric Chen demanded from his station. 2,400 RPM, every 3 seconds. You hear that stutter? Eric checked his monitors. The readings show normal operation. Marcus opened his eyes. Your readings are wrong. That's the problem. Victoria laughed. A janitor telling MIT engineers their instruments are wrong. Priceless. Marcus ignored her. He pulled out a worn notebook from his pocket. His father's notebook. 40 years of wisdom passed down from a man the world had ignored. The fuel injection system is German, calibrated to bar units, but your control unit is American. It reads PSI. He showed them the calculations. Your software converts 3.5 bar to 50.76 PSI but rounds to 50.8. That's a tiny error. But this engine has 47 systems. Each one compounds the error. By the time signals reach the main computer, you've got cascading failures. Dr. Susan Park stood up. The room went quiet. How long before thermal overload? She asked. Marcus met her gaze. 12 minutes, maybe 11. The engine shuts itself down to prevent damage. That's exactly what's been happening, Eric admitted. 11 minutes, 47 seconds, every time. Victoria's smile tightened. So you've identified the problem. Can you actually fix it? Marcus reached into the diagnostic kit, pulled out a small component, brushed aluminum, size of a hockey puck. Metric to imperial bridge adapter, $58. Silence. You're telling me, Victoria's voice cracked, that a $58 part could have solved a problem that's cost $3 million. Marcus looked at her. Complicated problems don't always need complicated answers. Sometimes you just need to help two systems understand each other. He paused. My father taught me that. 34 years at Ford. Never got promoted. Never got credit. Just did the work and hoped someone would notice. Dr. Park's eyes widened. Marcus saw it. Filed it away. Kept moving. Let me work. The installation took 14 minutes. Marcus's hands moved with precision. Remove the sensor housing, install the adapter, recalibrate, test, 10,000 repairs, 10,000 problems solved. Every lesson his father taught him in that Detroit garage. When he stepped back, his hands were steady. His heart was not. This was it. 3 years of invisibility. Denise's promises. His father's legacy. Keisha's future. Everything compressed into the next few minutes. Ready for testing. The workshop fell silent. Eric looked at Victoria. She waved impatiently. His hand moved to the ignition. The engine roared to life. Marcus closed his eyes, listened with his father's ears. The stutter was gone, replaced by something smooth, harmonious, the sound of a heart finally beating correctly. Temperature stable, Eric reported. Pressure optimal, fuel mixture perfect. The clock ticked. 1 minute, 2 minutes, 5 minutes, 8 minutes, 9 minutes, 10 minutes. Victoria grabbed the edge of a table. 11 minutes. The room held its breath. 11 minutes, 30 seconds. 11 minutes, 45 seconds. 11 minutes, 58 seconds. It's 59 seconds. 12 minutes. The engine kept running. 12 minutes, 15 seconds. 12 minutes, 30 seconds. 13 minutes. The room exploded. Engineers shouted. Employees cheered. The live stream hit 200,000 viewers. But Marcus didn't celebrate. He pulled out his phone. Typed fast. I did it, baby. I did it. Everything's going to be different now. His phone buzzed immediately. Dad, I'm watching the stream. I'm crying. Dad, I'm so proud of you. Marcus felt tears sting his eyes. For the first time in 3 years, he let them fall. Hiroshi Tanaka rose from his chair. He began to clap. Slow at first, then faster. 300 people joined him, applauding a janitor who'd just done the impossible. Dr. Susan Park walked through the crowd toward Marcus. She stopped in front of him, studied his face. Where did you train? My father's garage, Detroit, 1985. Your father was James Williams, Ford Motor Company. 34 years. Marcus's heart stopped. How do you know that? Because I was a young engineer in 1989 when Boeing consulted with Ford. We had a problem that stumped everyone. She paused. Your father solved it in 3 hours. I tried to get his name on the report. Management refused, said it would complicate things. Her voice softened. I've carried that guilt for 35 years. I never forgot his face. And when I saw you walk into this room, I saw him. Same eyes, same hands, same way of listening to machines like they were speaking to you. Marcus couldn't speak. He should have been running that company, Dr. Park continued. Instead, they never learned his name. But I knew. I always knew. She extended her hand. Someone noticed, Marcus. 40 years too late for your father, but not too late for you. Behind them, Victoria Cross was moving toward the exit. Mrs. Cross? Hiroshi Tanaka's voice stopped her cold. We need to discuss the terms of our continued partnership. Victoria turned. Of course, Mr. Tanaka. I'll have my assistant schedule now. The word carried $75 million of weight. For 8 weeks, your company has failed. Tonight, a janitor succeeded. This raises questions. Tanaka glanced at Marcus. But first, you will apologize. To Mr. Williams. Publicly. Now. Victoria's face went pale. 300 people. 200,000 live stream viewers. Every camera recording. Her lips pressed together. I'm sorry. Louder. Victoria closed her eyes. When she opened them, something had cracked behind the cold exterior. I'm sorry, Mr. Williams. I was wrong about you. Marcus looked at her for a long moment. Apology accepted. His phone buzzed. Dad, Victoria Cross just apologized to you on camera. This video has 500,000 views. 500,000. Marcus smiled. Then he looked back at Victoria. And what he saw made the smile fade. She wasn't broken. She was calculating. The woman who'd built an empire on fear wasn't finished. She was planning. And Marcus realized with cold certainty that fixing the engine had been the easy part. Whatever came next would require everything he had left. His phone buzzed one more time. Dad. Someone's at our door. They say they're from Crosstech. They say they need to talk to you. Dad. What's happening? Marcus's blood went cold. Victoria smiled. Marcus ran. He didn't wait for Victoria's reaction. Didn't wait for Tanaka's questions. Didn't wait for Dr. Park to finish whatever she was saying about his father. He ran through the conference hall past 300 employees still buzzing with excitement, past security guards who stepped aside when they saw his face past the elevators to the stairwell, because waiting for the elevator would take too long. 17 floors down. His bad knee screaming with every step. His phone pressed to his ear. Keisha, baby, don't open the door. Dad, they already came in. They said they had a warrant. They're going through our stuff. Dad, what's happening? Marcus's blood turned to ice. Put them on the phone. What? Put them on the phone. Shuffling sounds. Voices in the background. Then a man's voice, calm and professional. Mr. Williams? This is Detective Morrison, Detroit PD. We have a warrant to search your residence in connection with corporate espionage at Crosstech Industries. Marcus stopped on the 12th floor landing. His lungs burned. His heart pounded. Corporate espionage. I'm a janitor. I mop floors. Sir, we have evidence that you've been accessing restricted areas and photographing proprietary information. We need you to come to the station for questioning. Marcus's mind raced. The notebook. His father's notebook. The calculations he'd made. The observations he'd documented over 2 weeks of watching the engineering team fail. Victoria. This was Victoria. My daughter is 17 years old. She has school tomorrow. Whatever you need to do, you do it with me. You leave her out of this. Sir, we're just following procedure. She's a child. She's done nothing wrong. You want to search my apartment, fine. You want to question me, fine. But you get your people away from my daughter right now, or I swear to God. Dad, Keisha's voice. Small, scared. The same voice she'd had at 10 years old when Denise first got sick. When Marcus had to explain that Mommy wasn't going to get better. I'm coming, baby. I'm coming right now. Just stay calm. Don't say anything to anyone. I'll be there in 20 minutes. He hung up and ran. 15 floors, 10 floors, 5 floors. His knee gave out on the second floor landing. Marcus crashed against the wall, biting back a scream of pain. The old injury from his shop days. The hydraulic lift that had dropped an engine block on his kneecap 15 years ago. He'd been able to afford the surgery back then. Now he just lived with the pain. Marcus pulled himself up, limped down the remaining stairs, burst through the lobby doors into the parking lot. His Civic sat where he'd left it. Check engine light glowing its steady accusation when he started the car. 23 minutes later, he pulled onto his street. 2 police cars sat in front of his building, lights flashing. Neighbors gathered on porches, watching, whispering. Marcus parked and ran. Dad, Keisha stood on the sidewalk, arms wrapped around herself, tears streaming down her face. A female officer stood next to her, notepad in hand. Marcus grabbed his daughter and held her tight. It's okay, baby. It's okay. I'm here. They went through everything, Dad. My room, your room, Mom's stuff. They took your notebook, the one with Grandpa's writing. Marcus's stomach dropped. The notebook. 40 years of his father's wisdom. The only physical thing he had left of James Williams, besides memories and calloused hands. Mr. Williams. Detective Morrison approached. 50s, white. The kind of face that had seen too much and felt too little. We need you to come with us. Am I under arrest? Not yet. But we have questions about your activities at Crosstech Industries. Specifically your unauthorized access to restricted areas and your possession of proprietary technical information. Marcus looked at his daughter, looked at his apartment building, looked at the neighbors who'd watched him leave for work every night for 3 years without ever learning his name. My daughter stays here. She's got school. She's a minor. She can't stay alone if you're... I'm 17, Keisha interrupted. I can stay alone. I've been staying alone since my mom died. Something flickered across Morrison's face. Not quite sympathy, but not quite indifference either. Fine, Mr. Williams, let's go. Marcus turned to Keisha, cupped her face in his hands. Listen to me. Whatever happens tonight, whatever they tell you, whatever you see on the news, I didn't do anything wrong. You understand me. I fixed an engine. That's all I did. I fixed an engine and now someone's trying to destroy me for it. Victoria Cross. Yes. Keisha's eyes hardened, the same look Denise used to get when someone tried to push her around. Then we fight back. Marcus almost smiled. That's my girl. He kissed her forehead and followed Detective Morrison to the police car. The ride to the station took 18 minutes. Marcus spent every second of it thinking about Victoria's smile, the calculation behind her eyes, the way she'd watched him leave the conference hall like a predator watching prey walk into a trap. She'd planned this. While he was fixing her engine, while 300 people were cheering, while Hiroshi Tanaka was forcing her to apologize, Victoria Cross had been planning his destruction. The police station smelled like coffee and desperation. Morrison led Marcus to an interrogation room, bare walls, metal table, 2 chairs. Sit. Marcus sat. You want a lawyer? Do I need one? Morrison opened a folder, spread photographs across the table. Marcus saw himself, outside the R&D lab, studying blueprints through glass walls, writing in his notebook. These were taken over the past 2 weeks. Crosstech Security flagged your behavior as suspicious and began documenting it. I'm a janitor. I clean that floor every night. Janitors don't stop and stare at engineering schematics for 30 minutes. Janitors don't take notes on proprietary engine designs. Janitors don't... I was trying to help. Morrison leaned back. Help. The engine. I could hear something was wrong. I've been working with engines my whole life. My father taught me how to listen to them. So I listened. I documented what I heard. I figured out the problem. And you shared this information with Crosstech's competitors. What? No. I shared it with Crosstech. Tonight, I fixed the engine. In front of 300 people. In front of Japanese investors worth $75 million. I fixed it. Morrison's expression didn't change. We have a statement from Victoria Cross alleging that you've been photographing proprietary information and transmitting it to unknown parties. We have your notebook containing detailed technical specifications of Crosstech's marine engine project. We have surveillance footage of you accessing restricted areas. I have a maintenance key card. I'm supposed to clean those areas. You're supposed to clean them, not study them, not document them, not solve engineering problems that aren't your job to solve. Marcus felt the walls closing in. This was how it worked. This was how people like Victoria destroyed people like him. Not with fists or guns or direct confrontation. With paper, with procedure, with systems designed to crush anyone who stepped out of line. I want to call my daughter. You can call after we're done. I want to call her now. Morrison studied him for a long moment, then slid his phone across the table. Marcus dialed. Keisha picked up on the first ring. Dad? I'm okay, baby. They're asking questions about tonight. About the engine. Dad, it's all over the internet. The video has 2 million views. Everyone's calling you a hero. Everyone except Victoria Cross. She released a statement. Says you stole company secrets. Says you've been selling information to competitors. Says you manipulated the engine situation to cover your tracks. Marcus closed his eyes. 2 million views. 2 million people who'd watched him triumph. And now, Victoria was rewriting the story. Turning the hero into the villain. Turning his moment of redemption into evidence of crime. Dad, what do we do? I don't know, baby. I don't know. Fight back. The voice wasn't Keisha's. It was Denise's. Clear as the day she'd died. Clear as the promises she'd made him swear. Promise me you won't give up. Promise me you'll remember who you are. Promise me you'll take care of our baby. Dad. I'm here. Listen to me. There's a number in my phone. Dr. Susan Park. She was at Crosstech tonight. She knew your grandfather. She might be able to help. Grandpa, how did she? I'll explain later. Just call her. Tell her what's happening. Tell her Marcus Williams needs help. Okay, Dad. I love you. I love you too, baby. More than anything. He hung up and slid the phone back to Morrison. Ready to continue? No, but I don't have a choice, do I? Morrison almost smiled. No, you don't. The questioning lasted 4 hours. The same questions over and over. Where did you get the technical knowledge? Who have you been communicating with? Why were you studying the engine? How did you know how to fix it? Marcus told the truth every time. My father taught me. No one. Because I could hear it was broken. Because I've been fixing engines for 30 years. But truth didn't matter in that room. Evidence mattered. Narrative mattered. And Victoria Cross had spent 8 weeks building a narrative while Marcus had spent 8 weeks mopping floors. At 4:47 a.m., Morrison's phone rang. He stepped out of the room. Came back 2 minutes later with an expression Marcus couldn't read. You're free to go. Marcus blinked. What? Someone posted your bail. I didn't know I was being charged. You weren't. But someone wanted to make sure you could leave. Morrison opened the door. Mr. Williams, word of advice. Whatever war you've started with Victoria Cross, end it. Fast. Before she ends you. Marcus walked out of the police station into cold morning air. A black sedan waited at the curb. The back door opened. Dr. Susan Park looked out at him. Get in. Marcus got in. The sedan pulled away from the station. Dr. Park sat across from him, tablet in her lap phone pressed to her ear. Yes, I have him. We're on our way now. Make sure Tanaka is ready. She hung up. Your daughter called me. Remarkable young woman. Sounded just like her grandmother. You knew my mother. I knew of her. Your father talked about her once. Said she was the strongest person he'd ever met. Said she taught him that fighting wasn't about winning. It was about refusing to stay down. Marcus felt something crack in his chest. His mother had died when he was 23. Heart attack. Same as his father would die 16 years later. Both of them gone before 60. Both of them worn down by a world that took everything and gave nothing back. Where are we going? Crosstech. Tanaka called an emergency board meeting. Victoria is trying to convince them that you're a corporate spy who sabotaged the Nakamura project. Sabotaged, I fixed it. I know. But Victoria has evidence. Fabricated evidence. Emails from your account to competitor addresses. Financial records showing payments to offshore accounts. Security footage edited to show you in places you've never been. Marcus's head spun. How is that possible? I don't even know how to send an email. Victoria Cross has been running corporate sabotage operations for 15 years. This is what she does. When she can't win, she destroys. When she can't destroy, she rewrites reality until destruction becomes victory. Dr. Park leaned forward. But she made a mistake tonight. What mistake? She humiliated you in front of Hiroshi Tanaka. And Tanaka doesn't forget. He's spent the last 6 hours having his team audit every piece of evidence Victoria submitted. The emails were sent from IP addresses in Singapore while you were mopping floors in Detroit. The financial records reference bank accounts that don't exist. The security footage has editing artifacts that a first-year film student could spot. Marcus exhaled. So I'm clear. You're clear of the criminal charges. But Victoria isn't done. The board meeting in 30 minutes will determine whether she keeps her position or loses everything. If she wins, she'll spend the rest of her life making sure you never work again. If she loses everything. Yes. Marcus looked out the window. Detroit passing by. The city where his father had worked 34 years. The city where Marcus had built a shop and a reputation and a life. The city where Denise had died and where Keisha was waiting for him to come home. What do you need me to do? Dr. Park handed him the tablet. Tell your story. All of it. Not just tonight. Everything. Your father. Your shop. Your wife. Everything that brought you to that workshop floor. Why? Because Victoria Cross is going to tell the board that you're a criminal. A fraud. A nobody who got lucky and is now trying to extort a billion-dollar company. Dr. Park's eyes met his. You need to tell them who you really are. The Crosstech boardroom was nothing like the workshop. Leather chairs around a polished table. Screens on every wall. 12 board members in suits that cost more than Marcus's annual salary. Victoria sat at the head of the table. Composed. Professional. The mask firmly back in place. Hiroshi Tanaka sat opposite her, his translator beside him, his patience visibly exhausted. Dr. Park led Marcus to a chair near the door. Not at the table, not quite part of the discussion, but present, visible, impossible to ignore. Victoria's eyes found him immediately. Something flickered behind them. Surprise, anger, fear. Then the mask reassembled. I see Dr. Park has brought our janitor to the meeting. How appropriate. Tanaka didn't react. Begin, Mrs. Cross. The board is waiting. Victoria stood. Activated a screen behind her. Images appeared. The photographs from the police station. The fabricated emails. The edited footage. Ladies and gentlemen, what you witnessed last night was not a miracle. It was the final act of a carefully orchestrated sabotage operation. She pointed at Marcus. This man, Marcus Williams, has spent the past 2 weeks accessing restricted areas, photographing proprietary information, and transmitting it to Crosstech's competitors. The engine failure that plagued our Nakamura project was not an engineering problem. It was deliberate sabotage designed to humiliate this company and drive away our investors. Board members shifted uncomfortably. Mr. Williams then solved the problem he himself had created, a classic extortion play. Make the victim desperate, then offer salvation at a price. Victoria's voice hardened. I recommend immediate termination of Mr. Williams' filing of criminal charges and a full security audit of all Crosstech facilities. She sat down. Tanaka said nothing. The silence stretched. Mr. Williams. Everyone turned. Tanaka was looking directly at Marcus. You have been accused of serious crimes. Do you wish to respond? Marcus stood slowly. His knee ached. His eyes burned from no sleep. His heart pounded so hard he could feel it in his throat. Yes, sir. I do. He walked to the front of the room, stood where Victoria had stood, faced 12 people who held his future in their hands. My name is Marcus Williams. I'm 51 years old. I've been a janitor at Crosstech for 3 years. He paused. But I wasn't always a janitor. Marcus pulled out his phone, found a photograph, held it up. This was my shop, Williams Engine Works, Detroit. I built it when I was 28 years old, spent 15 years growing it into one of the most respected diagnostic shops in the city. He swiped to another photograph. This is my father, James Williams, 34 years at Ford Motor Company, never promoted, never recognized. But he could diagnose any engine by sound alone. He taught me everything I know. He swiped again. This is my wife, Denise Williams, elementary school teacher, mother of our daughter Keisha. She died 3 years ago, pancreatic cancer. Marcus's voice caught. The medical bills destroyed us. Insurance wouldn't cover the treatments. I sold the shop, sold our house, sold everything we'd built together. And when she died anyway, I was left with nothing. No money, no business, no hope. He put the phone away. I took this job because it was the only job that would hire me. A bankrupt former business owner with a sick wife and a teenage daughter. Nobody wanted to take a chance on me, except Crosstech. They needed someone to mop floors at night. I needed a paycheck. Marcus looked at Victoria. For 3 years, I've been invisible. I've watched engineers walk past me without seeing my face. I've heard executives discuss confidential projects like I wasn't standing 5 feet away. I've cleaned toilets and emptied trash cans and told myself that survival was enough, that staying small was staying safe. He turned back to the board. 2 weeks ago, I heard the engine, the marine engine, the one Mrs. Cross says I sabotaged. I heard it struggling. Heard the stutter at 2400 RPM. Heard the cascade failure building toward thermal overload. I knew what was wrong. I knew how to fix it. But I didn't say anything. Because who would listen to a janitor? Who would believe that a man with a mop could solve what MIT engineers couldn't crack? Marcus straightened. Last night, Mrs. Cross forced my hand. She humiliated me in front of 300 people. Challenged me to fix the engine or lose everything. He met her eyes. So I fixed it, with a $58 part. With knowledge my father gave me 40 years ago. With the same instincts that built my shop and earned my reputation and survived everything life threw at me. Marcus turned to Tanaka. Mr. Tanaka, I am not a spy. I am not a saboteur. I am not a criminal. I am a mechanic. A father, a man who lost everything and is fighting to build it back. He pointed at the screens behind Victoria. Those emails are fake. Those financial records are fake. That footage is edited, Mrs. Cross fabricated every piece of evidence to destroy me because I embarrassed her in front of you. Because I proved that a janitor could do what her team couldn't. Because I made her look weak. Marcus's voice dropped. She would rather destroy an innocent man than admit she was wrong. Silence. Tanaka studied Marcus for a long moment. Then he turned to his translator, spoke rapidly in Japanese. The translator nodded, stood, addressed the board. Mr. Tanaka has asked his security team to verify the evidence presented by Mrs. Cross. They have found significant irregularities. A screen activated. Technical data appeared. The emails allegedly sent by Mr. Williams originated from IP addresses in Singapore during hours when Mr. Williams was documented entering and exiting Crosstech facilities in Detroit. The financial records reference bank accounts with invalid routing numbers. The security footage contains editing artifacts consistent with AI manipulation. The translator paused. Mr. Tanaka concludes that the evidence is fabricated. He further concludes that Mrs. Cross has engaged in a deliberate attempt to frame an innocent employee. Victoria stood abruptly. This is absurd. I am the CEO of this company. I have given 20 years of my life to building Crosstech into a global leader. You cannot seriously take the word of a janitor over... Sit down, Mrs. Cross. Tanaka's voice was quiet, but it carried the weight of $4 billion. Victoria sat. 20 years ago, I invested in your vision because you promised integrity, excellence, innovation. Tanaka stood slowly. Tonight, I see only fear, desperation, cruelty. He walked toward Victoria. You humiliated a man who had done nothing wrong. You fabricated evidence to destroy him. You lied to this board, to your employees, to the world. He stopped in front of her. Why? Victoria's mask cracked. Because I earned this. I built this. I fought every day against men who told me I couldn't, I shouldn't, I wouldn't. I clawed my way to the top while people like him. She pointed at Marcus. Were content to push mops and complain about how unfair life is. Her voice rose. I became what I had to become. A woman who couldn't be ignored. A woman who couldn't be dismissed. A woman who couldn't be destroyed. Tears appeared at the corners of her eyes. And now you're going to take it all away because a janitor got lucky. Tanaka was silent for a long moment. No, Mrs. Cross. We are going to take it away because you tried to destroy an innocent man. Because you lied. Because somewhere between fighting for respect and fighting for dominance, you lost what made you worth respecting. He turned to the board. I call for an immediate vote. All in favor of removing Victoria Cross as CEO of Crosstech Industries. 11 hands rose. Victoria looked around the room. At the people she'd hired, the company she'd built, the empire she'd spent 20 years creating, all of it slipping through her fingers. This isn't over, she whispered. Then she stood, gathered her things, and walked out of the boardroom without looking back. Marcus watched her go. Part of him expected to feel triumph, victory, the satisfaction of seeing his enemy destroyed. But all he felt was tired. Tanaka approached him. Mr. Williams, on behalf of Crosstech Industries, I apologize for what you have endured. Mrs. Cross's actions do not represent this company's values. Marcus nodded slowly. What happens now? Now. Tanaka almost smiled. Now we discuss your future. Marcus's phone buzzed. A text from Keisha. Dad. Victoria Cross just walked out of Crosstech. The whole thing is live. Everyone's watching. Did you win? Marcus looked at the boardroom. At the screens showing fabricated evidence. At the chair where Victoria had sat. At Dr. Park, who was watching him with something like pride. He typed back. I don't know, baby, but I'm still standing. That's all that matters. The boardroom emptied slowly. Board members filed out one by one, avoiding Marcus's eyes. Some looked ashamed. Others looked relieved. None of them stopped to shake his hand or offer congratulations. He was still the janitor. Still the man who'd mopped their floors for 3 years. The fact that he'd just brought down their CEO didn't change the fundamental calculus of how they saw him. Dr. Park touched his arm. Don't take it personally. They're processing. Give them time. Time to what? Remember, I'm a person. Time to adjust their understanding of who you are. Marcus almost laughed. I've been adjusting my whole life. My father adjusted for 34 years. How much time do people need? Dr. Park had no answer for that. Tanaka approached them. His translator had left. Whatever he wanted to say alone. "Mr. Williams, walk with me." They left the boardroom and walked through halls Marcus knew intimately. Every corner, every closet, every bathroom he'd cleaned 1,000 times. But now he walked beside a billionaire. Now people stepped aside when they saw him coming. Now the same faces that had looked through him for 3 years suddenly couldn't stop staring. "You are uncomfortable," Tanaka observed. "Yes." "Good. Discomfort means growth. Comfort means stagnation." They reached the elevator. Tanaka pressed the button for the 38th floor. "I want to show you something." The elevator opened onto the R&D lab. The marine engine still sat on its test platform cables, attached monitors glowing green. Marcus approached it slowly, placed his hand on the engine block. Still warm, still running perfectly. 47 systems, Tanaka said. $3.5 million, 8 weeks of failure, 1 janitor, 14 minutes. He stood beside Marcus. "Do you know what I see when I look at this engine? A machine that finally works? No. I see waste. I see 8 weeks of brilliant engineers staring at screens instead of listening. I see $3 million spent on solutions that didn't address the problem. I see an entire company culture that values credentials over competence." Tanaka turned to face Marcus directly. "I also see opportunity." "What kind of opportunity?" "The kind that changes everything." Tanaka walked to a window overlooking Detroit. The sun was rising, orange light spilling across a city that had seen better decades. 40 years ago, your father solved a problem that saved Boeing $12 million. They never learned his name. 34 years at Ford, and he retired without recognition, without advancement, without anyone acknowledging his genius. Marcus felt his throat tighten. "How do you know all this?" "Because I was there. 1989. I was a young executive visiting American partners. Your father walked into a room full of engineers who had spent 3 weeks failing. He listened to the engine for 40 seconds. Then he told them exactly what was wrong." Tanaka's voice softened. "I tried to hire him. Offered triple his Ford salary. A house in Tokyo. Full benefits. Everything he deserved. He said no. He said his family was in Detroit. Said he couldn't leave his son." Marcus closed his eyes. His father had never told him, had never mentioned the offer or the sacrifice or the choice he'd made. James Williams had given up everything, and he'd never said a word. "I made your father a promise that day," Tanaka continued. "I told him that if I ever met his son, I would give him the opportunity he deserved, the opportunity your father should have had." He turned back to Marcus. "I am keeping that promise now." "What are you offering?" "Chief Engineer, Crosstech's Advanced Diagnostic Division. You will build a team, hire who you want, train them your way, solve problems that other engineers can't crack." Marcus stared at him. "I don't have a degree." "Neither did your father. Neither did Henry Ford. Neither did Steve Jobs. Credentials are paper. Competence is real." "I've been out of the industry for 3 years. Technology has changed." "Technology changes every day. Wisdom doesn't. You have wisdom that cannot be taught. You have ears that hear what others miss. You have hands that understand machines the way musicians understand instruments." Tanaka's eyes held Marcus's. "I am not offering you charity, Mr. Williams. I am offering you a chance to become who you were always meant to be." Marcus looked at the engine, at the 38th floor lab, at a future he'd stopped believing in 3 years ago when Denise's hand went cold in his. "What's the salary?" $140,000 to start. Full benefits, stock options, and a signing bonus of $50,000. Marcus's legs almost gave out. $50,000. Enough to pay off his debts. Enough to fix Keisha's college fund. Enough to stop living paycheck to paycheck for the first time in 3 years. Why? His voice cracked. Why would you do this for me? Tanaka smiled. A real smile. The first Marcus had seen from him. Because I am 71 years old. I have $4 billion. I have built companies and destroyed companies and watched empires rise and fall. But in all those years, I have never forgotten your father's face when I offered him the job. He paused. He looked exactly the way you look now. Like a man who had stopped believing good things could happen. Like a man who had forgotten that he deserved more than survival. Tanaka placed his hand on Marcus's shoulder. Your father chose his family over his future. He chose you. And because of that choice, you became the man who could walk into this building and fix what no one else could fix. His voice dropped. I am not saving you, Mr. Williams. I am repaying a debt that is 40 years overdue. Marcus couldn't speak. Couldn't think. Could only stand there while the weight of 40 years of history pressed down on his chest. His father had given up everything, and Marcus had never known. I need to call my daughter. Of course, take the day. Think about the offer. But know this, the offer stands regardless of what Victoria Cross does next. You have my protection. You have my resources. You have my word. Tanaka extended his hand. Marcus shook it. Thank you, Mr. Tanaka. Thank your father. He earned this. You just have to accept it. Marcus left Crosstech as the sun climbed over Detroit. His Civic sat in the parking lot. Check engine light still glowing. Reminder of everything he'd lost and everything he might regain. He drove home in a daze. The police cars were gone. The neighbors had retreated inside. The only sign of last night's chaos was a piece of crime scene tape caught in the bushes. Marcus climbed the stairs to his apartment. His knee screamed with every step. 48 hours without sleep. 48 hours that had changed everything. He opened the door. Keisha sat at the kitchen table, laptop open, coffee cold. She looked up when he walked in and her face crumpled. Dad? She was in his arms before he could respond. 17 years old, almost a woman. But holding him like she had at 5 when thunderstorms scared her, and at 10 when her mother got sick, and at 14 when they lowered Denise into the ground. I thought they were going to take you away, she whispered. I thought I was going to lose you too. I'm here, baby. I'm not going anywhere. The video has 10 million views. Everyone at school is texting me. Everyone wants to know if you're really my dad. Marcus pulled back to look at her face. What did you tell them? I told them my dad is the smartest man I've ever known. I told them he's been hiding for 3 years because the world broke his heart. I told them he finally remembered who he is. Marcus felt tears sting his eyes. When did you get so wise? Mom taught me. She said you were special. Said the world would try to make you small because it was afraid of what you could do. Said I had to remind you who you are when you forgot. She told you that. The night before she died, she made me promise. Marcus sat down heavily, the weight of everything crashing over him. Denise had known, had seen what he couldn't see in himself, had made their daughter promise to protect him from his own despair. I got a job offer. Keisha's eyes widened. From Crosstech. Chief engineer, $140,000 a year. $50,000 signing bonus. Dad, her voice broke. Dad, that's enough to pay off everything. Enough to fix the college fund. Enough to get us out of this apartment and into a real house. Keisha grabbed his hands. Are you going to take it? I don't know. What do you mean you don't know? This is everything. This is what Mom wanted for you. This is what Grandpa would have wanted. It's also dangerous. Victoria Cross is still out there. She lost her company, but she hasn't lost her resources, her connections, her desire for revenge. Keisha's jaw tightened. Let her come. Baby. No, listen to me. She leaned forward. For 3 years, I've watched you shrink, watched you hide, watched you pretend to be someone you're not because you were afraid of losing more than you already lost. Her eyes filled with tears. Mom didn't raise a coward. Grandpa didn't teach a coward. And I'm not the daughter of a coward. This isn't about courage, it's about protecting you. Then protect me by being my father again, the real one. The one who built a shop from nothing, the one who could fix any engine ever made. The one who taught me that talent isn't given, it's earned. She squeezed his hands. Take the job, Dad. Let Victoria come. We'll face her together. Marcus looked at his daughter, saw Denise in her eyes, saw his father in her jaw, saw generations of people who'd been knocked down and gotten back up and refused to stay small. Okay. I'll take the job. Keisha threw her arms around him again. I'm so proud of you. I haven't done anything yet. You stood up. That's everything. They held each other in the kitchen of their tiny apartment while morning light streamed through windows that needed cleaning and appliances hummed that needed replacing, and hope returned to a home that had forgotten what hope felt like. Marcus didn't know what came next, didn't know what Victoria would do, didn't know if he could actually build a team and solve problems and become the engineer he'd never had the chance to be. But he knew one thing. He wasn't invisible anymore, and he never would be again. The call came 3 days later. Marcus was in his new office on the 38th floor. Still strange to sit at a desk instead of push a mop past it. Still strange to have people knock before entering instead of walking past like he didn't exist. His phone buzzed. Unknown number. Hello? Mr. Williams, this is Victoria Cross. Marcus's blood went cold. How did you get this number? I have resources, Mr. Williams. Surely you've realized that by now. He could hear traffic in the background. She was calling from somewhere outside. What do you want? To offer you advice, one professional to another. You're not a professional anymore. You're unemployed. Victoria laughed. The sound sent ice down his spine. Unemployed is temporary, destroyed is permanent. I learned that distinction a long time ago. Is that a threat? It's a fact. I've spent 20 years building relationships in this industry. Senators, CEOs, journalists, people who owe me favors. People who remember what I did for them before I became a cautionary tale. Her voice hardened. You think you won because Tanaka took your side? You think a board vote changes anything? I have lawyers who will tie you up in litigation for years. I have contacts at every company you might want to work with. I have friends in places you don't even know exist. Then why call me if you're so powerful? Why bother talking? Silence on the line. Because I want you to know what's coming. I want you to understand that every good thing that happens to you from now on will be temporary. Every success will be undermined. Every relationship will be poisoned. Victoria's breath came faster. You took everything from me. My company, my reputation, my legacy. So I'm going to take everything from you. Your job, your future, your daughter. Marcus's hand tightened on the phone. Stay away from Keisha. She's 17, isn't she? Applying to colleges. Michigan, Northwestern, Stanford. Such a promising young woman. Such a shame if her applications were flagged for review. If you touch her. I don't have to touch her. I just have to make phone calls. I just have to have conversations. I just have to remind certain admissions officers that they owe me favors. Marcus stood up. His chair crashed backward. You come after my daughter, and I swear to God, you'll what? Go to the police. They already think you're a criminal. Go to the media. I have friends at every network. Go to Tanaka. He's 71 years old. He won't live forever. Victoria's voice dropped to a whisper. You should have stayed invisible, Marcus. You should have kept pushing your mop and cashing your paycheck and letting people like me run the world. She paused. This is war now. And in war, there are no rules. The line went dead. Marcus stood frozen in his office. Phone pressed to his ear. Heart pounding so hard he could feel it in his teeth. Victoria was coming for Keisha, his baby girl. The only thing he had left of Denise. The only reason he'd survived the last 3 years. He grabbed his jacket and ran. Keisha was at school. Lincoln High. 20 minutes away if traffic was light. Traffic was not light. Marcus weaved through cars, ran red lights, ignored horns blaring at him from every direction. His phone sat on the passenger seat, Keisha's number dialed, waiting for her to pick up. She didn't pick up. Voicemail. Again, and again, and again. Come on, baby. Come on. 15 minutes later, he pulled into Lincoln High's parking lot, jumped out of the car, ran toward the main entrance. Sir, you need to sign in. The security guard stepped in front of him. My daughter, Keisha Williams. I need to see her now. Sir, school policy requires all visitors to. My daughter might be in danger. Get her now. Something in Marcus's face made the guard step back. Wait here. 3 minutes. The longest 3 minutes of Marcus's life. Then Keisha appeared in the hallway. Confused. Unharmed. Alive. Dad, what are you doing here? Marcus grabbed her and held her tight. We need to go. Go? I have calculus in 10 minutes. Skip it. Dad, what's going on? He pulled back, looked at her face, made sure she was really okay. Victoria Cross called me. She threatened you. Keisha's expression didn't change. She's been threatening me for 2 days. Marcus's heart stopped. What? Emails, text messages, anonymous accounts, but I know it's her. She keeps saying she's going to destroy our family, that she's going to make sure I never get into college, that she's going to hurt you through me. Why didn't you tell me? Because I knew you'd do exactly this. Panic, pull me out of school, try to hide me somewhere. Keisha took his hands. Dad, I'm not Mom. I'm not fragile. I'm not going to break because some rich woman sends mean messages. She's not just some rich woman. She's dangerous. So are we. Marcus stared at his daughter. Keisha. No, listen to me. Her voice was steady, calm, the voice of someone who'd already thought this through. Victoria Cross thinks she can scare us because we're poor, because we're black, because we're nobody in her world. Keisha's jaw tightened. But she forgot something important. What? We've already lost everything. Mom is gone. The shop is gone. 3 years of our lives are gone. There's nothing left for her to take that would hurt more than what we've already survived. She squeezed his hands. So let her come. Let her send her lawyers and make her phone calls and threaten her threats. We're still standing. And we're going to keep standing until she realizes that destroying us is harder than she thought. Marcus looked at his daughter. Really looked. She wasn't 17 anymore. Not in the ways that mattered. 3 years of watching her mother die. 3 years of watching her father disappear into grief. 3 years of holding the family together with nothing but stubbornness and love. She'd grown up while he wasn't paying attention. When did you become the parent? Keisha almost smiled. When you needed me to be. Marcus pulled her close again. I'm sorry. I'm sorry I wasn't there. I'm sorry I disappeared. I'm sorry I let grief turn me into someone you had to take care of. Don't be sorry. Be better. He pulled back. I'm trying. I know, Dad. I know. They stood in the hallway of Lincoln High while students walked past, and teachers pretended not to stare, and the world kept spinning like it always did. What do we do now? Marcus asked. Keisha thought for a moment. You go back to work. You build your team. You become the engineer you were always supposed to be. And Victoria? Let her make her move. Then we make ours. What move do we have? Keisha's eyes hardened. The truth. Victoria Cross has spent 20 years lying about her company, about her employees, about everything. Somewhere in all those lies there's proof. Evidence of fraud, evidence of abuse, evidence of every terrible thing she's done. She looked at her father. We find that evidence, and we bury her with it. Marcus shook his head slowly. That's dangerous. So is letting her win. If we go after her and fail, then we fail. But at least we tried. At least we fought. Keisha's voice rose. Dad, you spent 3 years hiding. 3 years being invisible. 3 years letting the world push you around because you were afraid. She grabbed his shoulders. I don't want to be afraid anymore. I want to fight. I want to win. I want Victoria Cross to understand that she messed with the wrong family. Marcus looked at his daughter, saw Denise's courage, his father's stubbornness, his own fire buried for 3 years under grief and fear and the weight of everything he'd lost. Okay. Okay. We fight, but we do it smart. We do it careful, and we don't tell anyone what we're planning. Keisha nodded. Deal. Marcus walked his daughter back to class, watched her disappear through the door, stood in the hallway for a long moment, thinking about everything that had changed in the last 48 hours. He'd been invisible for 3 years. Now everyone could see him. The question was whether that visibility would save him or destroy him. His phone buzzed. A text from Dr. Susan Park. Marcus. We need to talk. Victoria is making moves. Come to my office. Bring Keisha. Marcus typed back. On my way. Then he walked out of Lincoln High and into whatever came next. Dr. Susan Park's office was on the 40th floor. Corner suite. Windows overlooking downtown Detroit. The kind of space Marcus had cleaned 100 times, but never been invited to sit in. Now he sat across from Dr. Park, while Keisha stood by the window, arms crossed, watching the city below. Victoria filed a lawsuit this morning, Dr. Park said. She slid a document across the desk. Wrongful termination, defamation, breach of fiduciary duty. She's claiming that Tanaka and the board conspired to remove her based on false accusations from a disgruntled employee. Marcus picked up the document. 37 pages of legal language he couldn't fully understand. But he understood enough. She's saying, I lied. She's saying everyone lied. You, me, Tanaka, the entire board. She's positioning herself as the victim of a coordinated attack. Keisha turned from the window. Can she win? In court? Probably not. The evidence against her is overwhelming. But that's not the point. Dr. Park leaned back in her chair. Victoria doesn't need to win. She needs to drag this out, create uncertainty, make Crosstech look unstable to investors and partners. How long? Marcus asked. Years. 3 minimum. Maybe 5. And during that time she'll be deposing witnesses, subpoenaing documents, making life miserable for everyone involved, including me. Especially you. You're the centerpiece of her narrative. The criminal janitor who seduced the board into removing a brilliant CEO. Marcus's hands tightened on the document. I'm not a criminal. I know that. The board knows that. But Victoria has 20 years of media relationships. She's already doing interviews, spinning the story. By next week, half the country will believe you're a con artist who got lucky. Keisha crossed the room in 3 quick strides. Then we need to hit back, hard, before she controls the narrative completely. Dr. Park studied her for a long moment. What do you suggest? You said Victoria has been lying for 20 years. About her company, about her employees, about everything. Keisha's jaw tightened. Somewhere in all those lies there's evidence. Something she couldn't hide. Something that proves who she really is. We've looked. The board has been investigating for months. Victoria was careful. Any evidence that might have existed has been destroyed or hidden. Then we find what she couldn't destroy. Marcus looked at his daughter. Keisha. No, Dad, listen. She turned to Dr. Park. Victoria's been at Crosstech for 20 years. She's fired hundreds of people, threatened hundreds more. Some of them must have stories, documents, recordings, something. Dr. Park was quiet for a moment. There is one person. Who? Eric Chen. Marcus felt his stomach drop. Eric Chen set me up. He led me into Victoria's trap. He's the reason I spent 4 hours in a police station. He was following orders. Victoria had leverage on him gambling debts she paid off 3 years ago. He's been her puppet ever since. And you think he'll help us now? I think he might want to. He came to my office this morning, early, before anyone else arrived. Dr. Park pulled out her phone. He left this. She pressed play. Eric Chen's voice filled the room, hushed and hurried. Dr. Park, this is Eric. I know what I did to Marcus was wrong. I know I helped Victoria try to destroy him. But I didn't have a choice. She owns me. Has owned me for 3 years. A pause. Heavy breathing. But she made a mistake. When she was building the case against Marcus, she got sloppy. Started keeping files on her personal server. Backup copies of everything she was fabricating. She thought they were secure, but I have the access codes. Another pause. I'm not brave enough to go to the police myself. She'd destroy me before I got to the front door. But if you want the evidence, if you want to end this, meet me at the old plant on Miller Road. Tonight. Midnight. Come alone. The recording ended. Silence. It's a trap, Marcus said immediately. Probably. Dr. Park agreed. Victoria's using Eric again. Same playbook. Get us somewhere isolated, then spring whatever she's planned. Also probable. So why are you showing us this? Dr. Park folded her hands on the desk. Because Eric Chen is a coward, but he's not evil. I've worked with him for 8 years. I've seen how Victoria treats him. How he flinches when she enters a room. How he stays late because he's afraid to go home to whatever guilt is waiting there. She met Marcus's eyes. If there's even a chance he's telling the truth, it's worth taking. Worth risking your life. Worth risking everything. Victoria Cross has hurt too many people. She's destroyed careers, families, lives. If Eric has evidence that can stop her permanently, then yes, it's worth the risk. Keisha stepped forward. I'm coming. Absolutely not. Marcus stood up so fast his chair skidded backward. You're 17. You're not going anywhere near this. Dad? No, this isn't a discussion. If this is a trap, if something goes wrong, I need to know you're safe. That's the only way I can do this. Keisha's eyes flashed with anger, then softened with understanding. Promise me you'll come back. I promise. Promise me like you promised Mom, like you meant it. Marcus took his daughter's face in his hands. I promise you, Keisha Williams, I will come back. No matter what happens tonight, I will come back to you. She nodded slowly. Okay. But if you're not home by 2 a.m., I'm calling the police. Deal. Dr. Park stood. I'll drive. I know the old plant. It's been abandoned for 15 years, used to be an auto parts facility before the industry collapsed. You're not coming either, Marcus said. Like hell I'm not. Eric asked for me specifically. If I don't show, he might not talk. And someone needs to watch your back while you're busy being noble. Marcus wanted to argue, but the look in Dr. Park's eyes told him it would be pointless. Fine, but we do this smart. We have a plan. We have an exit strategy. And if anything feels wrong, we leave immediately. Agreed. And Keisha stays here. I can stay with the security team, Keisha said. They can keep me updated. And if anything goes wrong? Nothing's going to go wrong. Keisha hugged him tight. Be careful, Dad. I just got you back. I can't lose you again. You won't, baby. I promise. He kissed her forehead. Then he followed Dr. Park out of the office and into whatever waited in the dark. The drive to Miller Road took 45 minutes. Detroit at midnight was a different city. Empty streets, shuttered businesses, the skeleton of an industrial giant that had never fully recovered from decades of decline. Dr. Park drove in silence. Marcus watched buildings pass like ghosts. Tell me about my father, he said finally. What do you want to know? Everything. You said you met him in 1989, that he solved a problem in 3 hours. What else? Dr. Park was quiet for a long moment. He was the smartest person I ever met, and I've worked with Nobel laureates and NASA engineers and people who designed systems that went to Mars. She turned onto a darker road, but your father understood machines in a way that wasn't teachable. It was instinct, intuition, like he could feel what engines needed before they knew they needed it. He taught me that, said engines have heartbeats, said you just have to listen. He was right. Most engineers look at machines as puzzles to be solved with math and analysis. Your father looked at them as living things that wanted to work correctly. He just had to help them figure out how. Marcus felt his throat tighten. Why didn't he take Tanaka's offer? Triple salary, house in Tokyo, everything he deserved. You know why? Because of me. Because of his family, you, your mother, the life he'd built in Detroit. Dr. Park glanced at him. He told me once that success meant nothing if you had to leave behind the people who made success worth having. He died in a garage, working on someone else's engine, alone. He died doing what he loved. That's more than most people get. He deserved better. Everyone deserves better. The question is whether we fight for it or accept what we're given. She pulled off the main road onto gravel. That's what you're doing now, Marcus. Fighting. Your father never had the chance. Victoria's giving you one. By trying to destroy me. By forcing you to become who you were always meant to be. Sometimes our enemies do us more favors than our friends. The old plant materialized from the darkness. Massive. Abandoned. Windows broken. Walls tagged with graffiti. The corpse of American manufacturing rotting slowly in the Michigan night. Dr. Park parked near the main entrance. Ready? No. Good. People who are ready get careless. They got out of the car. The night air was cold. Marcus could see his breath. Flashlights on, moving slowly. Every shadow a potential threat. Eric, Dr. Park called out. It's Susan. I got your message. Silence. They moved deeper into the plant. Past rusted machinery, past conveyor belts that hadn't moved in 15 years, past the remnants of a world that had stopped existing long before Marcus started pushing a mop. Eric. A sound, metal on concrete, coming from the left. Marcus grabbed Dr. Park's arm. Wait. They listened. Nothing. Then, over here. Eric Chen's voice, weak, scared. They found him in what used to be an office, sitting on the floor, back against the wall, blood on his shirt. Eric. Dr. Park rushed forward. What happened? She knew. Eric's voice was barely a whisper. She knew I was going to talk, had someone waiting for me when I got here. Marcus knelt beside him. The blood was coming from a wound in his side. Not deep enough to be immediately fatal. Deep enough to hurt like hell. Who did this? Doesn't matter. What matters is this. Eric pulled a flash drive from his pocket. Held it out with a shaking hand. Everything. Every file she ever created. Every email she ever sent. Every lie she ever told. Marcus took the flash drive. Why? After everything you did, after setting me up, why help us now? Eric laughed, a bitter sound that turned into a cough. Because I'm tired. Tired of being afraid. Tired of doing terrible things because someone has leverage on me. He looked at Dr. Park. When you solve the problem, when you fix the engine, when you make everything right, it feels like redemption. Like the universe is giving you a second chance. His eyes found Marcus. I want a second chance. Even if it kills me. It's not going to kill you. Dr. Park was already on her phone. I'm calling an ambulance. No. Eric grabbed her wrist. If you call anyone, Victoria will know. She has people everywhere. Police, hospitals, everywhere. You need medical attention. I need to survive until morning. After that, after the world sees what's on that drive, she can't touch me anymore. Marcus looked at the flash drive in his hand. What's on here? Everything. 20 years of fraud, falsified safety reports, bribery, blackmail. 3 people who died in accidents that were covered up. Eric's voice cracked. I was there for all of it. I helped hide the bodies. I helped destroy the evidence. I did whatever she asked because I was too weak to say no. Tears streamed down his face. I'm not asking for forgiveness. I don't deserve it. But maybe if this ends her, maybe it counts for something. Marcus pocketed the flash drive. Can you walk? I think so. Then we're getting out of here. All of us. Now. They helped Eric to his feet. He groaned but stayed upright. Dr. Park took one side, Marcus the other. They started moving toward the exit. 20 feet from the door, lights blazed on. Marcus froze. Victoria Cross stepped out of the shadows. Hello, Marcus. I was wondering when you'd show up. Behind her 3 men. Large, professional. The kind of people who hurt others for money. Victoria. Dr. Park's voice was steady. This is a mistake. The only mistake was trusting Eric to stay loyal. Victoria walked toward them slowly. I knew he'd crack eventually. Knew he'd try to be a hero. So I let him think he was being clever. Let him make copies. Let him arrange this little meeting. She stopped 10 feet away. And now here we are. The janitor. The retired engineer. The coward who finally found his conscience. She smiled. All together. All convenient. What do you want? Marcus asked. The same thing I've always wanted. To win. You lost. The board removed you. Tanaka took your company. It's over. Nothing is over until I say it's over. Victoria's voice hardened. I built Crosstech from nothing. Fought every day for 20 years. And you think a vote is going to stop me? You think a lawsuit is going to stop me? She stepped closer. I'm going to take back what's mine. I'm going to destroy everyone who betrayed me. And I'm going to start with you. She nodded to the men behind her. They moved forward. Marcus pushed Eric behind him. You don't have to do this, Victoria. Walk away. Start over. You have money connections, everything you need to build something new. I don't want something new. I want what's mine. It was never yours. You stole it, lied for it, destroyed people for it. That's how the world works, janitor. The strong take. The weak accept. I'm strong. You're weak. This ends the only way it was ever going to end. The men were 5 feet away now. Marcus calculated. 3 against 1. Bad odds. Worse if they had weapons. His knee was shot. He hadn't been in a fight in 20 years. But he'd made a promise to his daughter. And Marcus Williams kept his promises. You're wrong about something, Victoria. What's that? I'm not weak. He grabbed the nearest piece of machinery, a rusted wrench left on a bench, and swung it at the first man who reached him. Contact. The man went down. The second man tackled Marcus. They hit the concrete hard. Marcus felt his bad knee scream. Felt fists connecting with his ribs. Felt the world narrow to survival and violence and the desperate need to keep fighting. Dr. Park was yelling something. Eric was on the ground. Victoria was backing away, watching with cold satisfaction as her men did what she paid them to do. Marcus twisted, got a hand free, drove his thumb into his attacker's eye. The man screamed and rolled off him. The third man kicked Marcus in the ribs. Once, twice. Marcus curled into a ball, protecting his head, waiting for the next blow. It didn't come. Sirens. Blue and red lights flooding through the broken windows. Police! Nobody move! Victoria's face went white. That's impossible. I own the... You don't own me! Keisha's voice. Marcus looked up. His daughter stood in the doorway, phone in hand. Behind her, 4 police officers with weapons drawn. I tracked your phone, Dad. I know you said to stay put, but I also know you're too stubborn to call for help. Victoria was already running. One of her men tried to follow. An officer tackled him before he got 3 steps. "Stop her!" Marcus shouted. 2 officers broke off pursuit. They caught Victoria at the back exit. She struggled, screamed, threatened. None of it mattered. They put her in handcuffs. Marcus lay on the concrete ribs, screaming knee-destroyed, watching the woman who'd tried to kill him get dragged away in restraints. Keisha knelt beside him. "You promised you'd come back." "I was working on it." "Working on it." She was crying and laughing at the same time. "You were getting your ass kicked." "Language." "You almost died." "But I didn't. Because I saved you." Marcus reached up and touched his daughter's face. "You did. You absolutely did." Paramedics rushed in. Someone was helping Eric onto a stretcher. Dr. Park was talking to officers, pointing at Victoria, explaining what had happened. Marcus let them lift him onto a stretcher, let them check his ribs and his knee and the cuts on his face. But he never let go of Keisha's hand. "Is it over?" she asked. Marcus looked at the flash drive still in his pocket, at Victoria being loaded into a police car, at the abandoned plant that had almost become his grave. Almost, baby. Almost. The hospital kept Marcus overnight. 2 cracked ribs, torn ligaments in his knee, cuts and bruises that would heal in a few weeks. Nothing permanent, nothing that would stop him from becoming who he was meant to be. Dr. Park visited at 7 a.m. She looked exhausted but triumphant. The flash drive checked out. Every file Eric described. 20 years of crimes, all documented, all admissible. What happens now? Victoria's being charged with assault, attempted murder, fraud, and about 15 other things the DA is still counting. She's not getting bail. Not this time. Marcus exhaled slowly. It's really over. The legal part is just beginning. But Victoria, she's done. The evidence is too overwhelming. The witnesses are too many. Whatever power she had, it's gone. She sat in the chair beside his bed. "How do you feel?" "Like I got hit by a truck." "That's the physical part. I mean, how do you feel?" Marcus thought about it. Tired, relieved, scared. Scared? I've been fighting for 4 days straight. Fighting Victoria. Fighting the police. Fighting for my life. He looked at the ceiling. I don't know who I am when I'm not fighting. Dr. Park smiled. You're a father, an engineer, a man who hears what others can't hear. You're the son of James Williams, and the husband of Denise Williams, and the person who's going to honor their legacies by becoming everything they believed you could be. She stood. Get some rest. Tomorrow we start building. Building what? The future. Your future. A team of people like you, talented, overlooked, invisible, who deserve a chance to show the world what they can do. She walked toward the door. Your father gave up his dream for his family. Now you get to have both. Marcus watched her go. Then he closed his eyes and for the first time in 4 days let himself sleep. When he woke, Keisha was sitting beside his bed, reading a book, waiting. Hey, Dad. Hey, baby. How do you feel? Better. Still hurts, but better. Keisha put down her book. Victoria's lawyer already came by, tried to make a deal. DA told him to go to hell. Good. The video from last night is everywhere. Someone's phone caught Victoria ordering her guys to attack you. 10 million views and counting. That's a lot of views. You're famous now, Dad. The janitor who took down a CEO, the invisible man who refused to stay invisible. Marcus reached for his daughter's hand. I couldn't have done any of this without you. I know. I'm serious. When your mother died, I gave up. Lost myself. Became a ghost. You're the only reason I kept going. Keisha squeezed his hand. Mom made me promise. Promise what? That I'd never let you forget who you are. That I'd remind you every single day that you were special. That the world needed Marcus Williams even when Marcus Williams didn't believe it. Tears burned Marcus's eyes. She knew. She always knew. She said you were the strongest man she ever met. Said grief would try to break you, but that I had to keep you whole until you remembered how to be whole by yourself. Marcus pulled his daughter close, held her tight. I love you so much. I love you too, Dad. Now get better. We've got work to do. He laughed despite the pain. What kind of work? Keisha smiled. Building the future. Isn't that what Dr. Park said? Marcus looked at his daughter, at the woman she'd become, at the strength she'd found in the worst years of her life. Yeah, baby. That's exactly what she said. He closed his eyes again, and for the first time in 3 years, Marcus Williams dreamed about something other than loss. He dreamed about tomorrow. 6 months passed faster than Marcus expected. The trial came and went. Victoria Cross stood in a federal courtroom while prosecutors read 20 years of crimes into the record. Fraud, bribery, conspiracy. 3 counts of involuntary manslaughter for workers who died in accidents she'd covered up. Marcus testified for 2 days, told the whole story. The mop, the challenge, the engine, the trap, the night at the abandoned plant when Victoria's men tried to kill him. The jury deliberated for 4 hours. Guilty on all counts. 18 years in federal prison. No possibility of parole for 12. Marcus watched them lead her away in handcuffs. She looked smaller than he remembered. Older. The armor she'd worn for 30 years finally stripped away, leaving behind a woman who'd forgotten how to exist without power. She didn't look at him as she passed. He didn't expect her to. Keisha squeezed his hand. It's over, Dad. Yeah, baby. It's really over. They walked out of the courthouse into spring sunshine. Reporters shouted questions. Cameras flashed. Marcus kept his head down and his daughter close and pushed through the crowd to the waiting car. Dr. Park sat in the driver's seat. How do you feel? Empty. I thought I'd feel satisfied, triumphant, something. You feel empty because revenge was never what you wanted. You wanted justice. Justice doesn't feel like victory. It feels like the absence of injustice. Marcus stared out the window as they pulled away from the courthouse. Is that supposed to make me feel better? It's supposed to make you understand. You didn't fight Victoria to destroy her. You fought her to protect your daughter, to honor your father, to become who you were meant to be. She glanced at him in the rearview mirror. The trial is over. Now the real work begins. The real work began the next morning. Marcus stood in the center of Crosstech's new Advanced Diagnostic Center. 40,000 square feet of equipment, computers, and testing facilities. His name on the door, his vision in every corner, and his team waiting for him to speak. Jennifer Hayes stood in the front row, 26 years old, former AutoZone counter worker. The woman Marcus had found selling spark plugs to mechanics who didn't know half what she knew. Beside her, Darnell Washington, 42, former truck driver. The man who'd spent 15 years studying engineering textbooks at rest stops because no college would accept someone without a high school diploma. Behind them, 12 more. Mechanics, welders, factory workers. People who'd been told their whole lives that they weren't qualified, that they didn't have the right credentials, that their knowledge didn't count because it didn't come with a degree. Marcus had found them all, recruited them personally, convinced Tanaka and the board to take chances on people without traditional backgrounds. Now they stood before him waiting to hear what came next. 6 months ago, Marcus said, I was pushing a mop through this building. Most of you didn't know my name. Some of you walked past me every day without seeing my face. He looked at each of them in turn. I know what that feels like. I know what it's like to be invisible, to have knowledge that no one values, to understand things that people with degrees can't figure out. He walked among them slowly. My father worked at Ford for 34 years, never got promoted, never got recognized, but he could diagnose any engine by sound alone. He taught me that every machine has a heartbeat, that if you listen, really listen, the machine will tell you exactly what's wrong. Marcus stopped at the center of the room. That's what we're going to do here. We're going to listen. We're going to solve problems that other engineers can't solve. We're going to prove that talent exists everywhere, in garages and truck stops, in places that companies never think to look. He met Jennifer's eyes. You spent 3 years selling parts to men who didn't respect you. That ends today. He turned to Darnell. You spent 15 years driving trucks while studying textbooks. That knowledge is about to pay off. Marcus raised his voice. Every person in this room was overlooked, dismissed, told they weren't good enough. But I see you. I see what you can do, and I'm going to make damn sure the world sees it too. He pulled out his father's notebook, held it up for everyone to see. This belonged to my father. 40 years of wisdom from a man who never got the recognition he deserved. His knowledge lives in these pages, and now it lives in all of you. Marcus opened the notebook to the first page. Lesson 1. Every engine has a heartbeat. Let me show you how to hear it. The months that followed were the hardest of Marcus's life. Not because of the work. The work was beautiful. Solving problems that had stumped other engineers. Training his team to hear what others couldn't hear. Watching people who'd been invisible their whole lives suddenly become essential. The hard part was learning to lead. Marcus had never managed anyone before. At his shop, he'd been a one-man operation. The best he'd ever done was supervise 2 part-time employees, who mostly stayed out of his way. Now he had 14 people depending on him. 14 careers. 14 families. 14 futures resting on his ability to guide them. He made mistakes, promoted someone too fast, criticized someone too harshly, forgot that being brilliant at engines didn't automatically make him brilliant at people. Keisha helped. She'd graduated from Lincoln High in May, top of her class, acceptance letters from Michigan Northwestern and Stanford, full scholarship offers from all 3. But she deferred for a year. I want to help, she said when Marcus tried to argue. I've watched you struggle with the business side of things. I've seen you stay up until 3 a.m. trying to figure out spreadsheets that would take me 20 minutes. You should be in college, building your future. My future can wait 1 year. Your future is happening right now. She became his assistant, managed his schedule, organized his files, taught him how to use software that had been invented while he was pushing a mop. And slowly, painfully, Marcus Williams learned to be a leader. The breakthrough came 8 months after the trial. A problem no one could solve. A next-generation electric vehicle battery that kept overheating despite everything the engineering team tried. Tesla had given up. Ford had given up. The Department of Energy was about to pull funding. Tanaka brought it to Marcus personally. I need your ears, he said. One last time. Marcus gathered his team, spent 3 days studying the battery design, listening to the hum of electrical systems, feeling the subtle vibrations that told him something was wrong. On the 4th day, he found it. There. He pointed to a component deep inside the battery housing. The thermal management system is fighting itself. 2 sensors calibrated to different standards. Same problem as the marine engine, just smaller scale. Jennifer leaned forward. How do we fix it? We don't fix it. We replace the entire sensor array with a unified system, single calibration standard. No conflicts. Darnell ran the numbers. That would cost maybe $200 per unit. The current system costs $800. Exactly. Marcus looked at his team. Sometimes the most expensive solution isn't the best one. Sometimes you just need to listen. The fix worked. The Department of Energy renewed funding. Tesla called asking about licensing. Ford wanted to hire Marcus away at triple his salary. He said no. Crosstech gave me a chance when no one else would. He told Dr. Park. I'm not leaving for money. Most people would. I'm not most people. She smiled. No, you're definitely not. The first anniversary of the engine challenge came in March. Tanaka called a company-wide meeting. 300 employees gathered in the same conference hall, where Marcus had fixed the marine engine 1 year ago. But this time, Marcus wasn't standing at the front as a janitor. He stood beside Tanaka as chief engineer, his team behind him, his daughter in the front row. 1 year ago, Tanaka said, a man with a mop proved that talent exists everywhere, that credentials are paper but competence is real, that sometimes the person everyone overlooks is the person who sees most clearly. He turned to Marcus. Today, we honor that man, and we honor his father, whose wisdom made everything possible. A screen lit up behind them. The James Williams Memorial Fund. $100 million over 5 years. Scholarships for non-traditional students pursuing engineering degrees. Training programs for mechanics, factory workers, and anyone else with talent that traditional systems refuse to recognize. Marcus felt his throat tighten. I didn't know about this. That was the point. Tanaka smiled. Your father gave up his dreams for his family. This fund ensures that no one else has to make that choice. The applause started slowly, then grew. 300 people on their feet cheering for a man who'd been invisible for 3 years and a fund named for a man who'd been invisible for 34. Marcus looked at the screen. At his father's name in letters 3 feet tall, James Williams, finally recognized, finally honored, finally seen. Keisha appeared beside him, took his hand. He would have been proud, Dad. I hope so. I know so. This is everything he wanted, not for himself, for people like him, for people like us. Marcus squeezed her hand. Thank you. For what? For not letting me give up, for reminding me who I am, for keeping the promise you made to your mother. Keisha's eyes glistened. I told you, some promises are worth keeping. The fund launched in April. 3,000 applications in the first month. Mechanics from Alabama, welders from Ohio, truck drivers from California. People who'd spent their whole lives being told they weren't qualified finally getting a chance to prove otherwise. Marcus read every application personally, looked for the spark, the hunger. The same thing he'd seen in Jennifer and Darnell and everyone else on his team. The first class of 50 fellows started in September. Marcus taught the first session himself. My name is Marcus Williams. 2 years ago, I was a janitor. Before that, I owned a shop. Before that, I was a kid in Detroit, learning from my father how to listen to engines. He held up the notebook. This is what my father left me. 40 years of wisdom. But I'm not going to read it to you. I'm going to teach you how to build your own. He walked among them. 50 people from 50 different backgrounds, all of them nervous, all of them wondering if they belonged. Everyone in this room has been told they're not good enough, that they don't have the right education, the right credentials, the right background. Marcus stopped in the center of the room. That ends today. Here you're not judged by where you came from. You're judged by what you can do. And I believe every single one of you can do extraordinary things. He met each of their eyes. Now let me teach you how to prove it. 2 years after the engine challenge, Keisha graduated from Stanford. Summa cum laude. Computer science with a minor in business. Job offers from Google, Apple, and every tech company that mattered. She said no to all of them. I want to come home, she told Marcus on graduation day. I want to help build what you're building. You should have your own career, your own path. This is my path. I've known it since the night I saved your life in that plant. She took his hands. The James Williams Fund isn't just about scholarships. It's about changing how companies find talent, about proving that the best people aren't always in the obvious places. Her eyes lit up. I want to scale it. Take what you've built at Crosstech and spread it everywhere. Every company, every industry, every country that's wasting human potential because they're looking in the wrong places. Marcus studied his daughter. 22 years old. Stanford degree. Every door in the world open to her, and she wanted to come home. Your mother would be so proud of you. She'd be proud of both of us. Marcus pulled her close. Welcome to the team. The third anniversary brought an unexpected visitor. Marcus was in his office when his assistant buzzed. "Mr. Williams, there's someone here to see you. She says you'll want to talk to her." "Who is it?" A pause. "Victoria Cross." Marcus's blood went cold. "Send her in." The door opened. Victoria walked in. She looked different, smaller. The designer suits were gone, replaced by simple clothes. Prison clothes, Marcus realized. They'd released her on a technicality, something about evidence handling. She'd served 3 years instead of 18. "Hello, Marcus." "Victoria." She stood in the doorway, uncertain. The confidence that had defined her for 30 years was gone. "I came to apologize." "You already apologized. In front of 300 people. At gunpoint from Tanaka." That wasn't an apology. That was survival. She took a step forward. "This is an apology." Marcus said nothing, waited. "I spent 3 years in prison thinking about what I did. To you, to Eric, to everyone I hurt on my way to the top." Her voice cracked. "I told myself it was necessary, that the world was cruel and I had to be crueler, that power was the only thing that mattered." She looked at the floor. "I was wrong. Why are you telling me this? Because you're the one I hurt most, and because I need you to know that I understand now. What you have, your team, your fund, your legacy, that's real. What I had was just fear dressed up as success." Victoria met his eyes. "I'm not asking for forgiveness. I don't deserve it. I'm just asking you to know that I see it now. I see what you built. And I'm grateful that someone finally showed me what building actually looks like." Marcus studied her for a long moment. The woman who had tried to destroy him, who had threatened his daughter, who had sent men to kill him in an abandoned plant. Now standing in his office, broken and honest for maybe the first time in her life. "What are you going to do now?" "I don't know. Start over, I guess. Somewhere no one knows my name." "That won't be easy." "Nothing worth doing is easy. You taught me that." Marcus stood, walked around his desk, stopped in front of Victoria. "The fund accepts applications from everyone, including people with criminal records, including people who need second chances." Victoria stared at him. "You can't be serious." "I'm completely serious. You have 20 years of business experience. You understand how companies work, how deals get made, how talent gets overlooked. You could be useful. After everything I did to you." "My father used to say that holding grudges is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to die." Marcus's voice softened. "I'm not offering you friendship. I'm not offering you trust. I'm offering you a chance to earn redemption." He met her eyes. "What you do with it is up to you." Victoria was silent for a long moment. Then slowly, tears began streaming down her face. "Why? After everything? Why would you help me?" "Because my wife believed in second chances. Because my father believed in seeing potential where others saw nothing. Because I spent 3 years being invisible, and I know what it feels like to need someone to see you." Marcus walked back to his desk. "The application is online. Fill it out like everyone else. If you're selected, you'll work harder than you've ever worked in your life. And if you prove yourself, maybe someday we'll talk about forgiveness." Victoria wiped her eyes. "Thank you." "Don't thank me yet. Thank me when you've earned it." She nodded slowly, turned to leave, stopped at the door. "For what it's worth, Marcus, you were right. About everything. About talent, about credentials, about who deserves chances." She looked back at him. "Your father would be proud." Then she was gone. Marcus sat alone in his office for a long time, thinking about the strange paths that brought people together and tore them apart. Then he opened his father's notebook and got back to work. 5 years after the engine challenge, Marcus stood in a different conference hall. The White House, East Room, 200 people in formal attire. The president approached the podium. "Ladies and gentlemen, It is my honor to present the Presidential Medal of Freedom to Marcus Williams, whose work has transformed how America discovers and develops talent. Marcus walked to the podium on legs that felt like they belonged to someone else. Keisha sat in the front row, Dr. Park beside her. The 50 original fellows from the fund, Jennifer and Darnell and everyone else who'd been part of the journey. The president draped the medal around his neck. Marcus Williams didn't just fix an engine. He fixed a broken system. He proved that genius exists in garages and truck stops and places we never think to look. And through the James Williams Fund, he's given thousands of people the chance his father never had. The president shook his hand. On behalf of a grateful nation, thank you. Applause filled the room. Marcus looked out at the faces, at his daughter crying, at his team cheering, at a room full of people who finally understood what his father had known 50 years ago. Every engine has a heartbeat. Every person has potential. You just have to listen. The reception afterward was a blur of handshakes and congratulations. Keisha found him near the back of the room staring out a window at the White House lawn. You okay, Dad? Just thinking. About what? About your mother. About your grandfather. About all the people who got me here. Keisha stood beside him. They're here. You know that, right? They're watching. You think so? I know so. Mom always said that love doesn't end when people die. It just changes form. Marcus put his arm around his daughter. When did you get so wise? I learned from the best. They stood together watching the sun set over Washington. What happens now? Keisha asked. Now we keep building, keep finding people who've been overlooked, keep proving that talent is everywhere. And then we pass it on, to the next generation, and the next, until the whole world understands what my father understood. Marcus pulled out the notebook. Worn now. Pages soft from years of handling. Every engine has a heartbeat, he said. Every person has potential. You just have to listen. He handed it to Keisha. Your turn. She took it with trembling hands. Dad? I've taught you everything I know, everything my father taught me. Now it's your job to teach the next generation. Keisha held the notebook against her chest. I won't let you down. You never have, baby. You never have. They walked out of the White House together, father and daughter, carrying 60 years of wisdom and a legacy that would outlive them both. Outside, the evening air was warm. The world was quiet. And for the first time since Denise died, Marcus Williams felt truly at peace. He thought about his father working 34 years without recognition. He thought about his wife fighting cancer with everything she had. He thought about his daughter, who'd kept him alive when he'd forgotten how to live. And he understood finally what all of it had been for. Not the medal, not the money, not the recognition, the legacy. The knowledge passed from father to son to daughter to 1,000 people who would pass it to 1,000 more. That was immortality. That was what mattered. That was everything. Marcus Williams had been invisible for 3 years. Now, the whole world could see him. But the greatest thing he'd ever done wasn't becoming visible. It was helping others be seen. And that legacy would live forever.